Hey, what's up, Steelers Nation? I'm Tyler Feldman, proudly born and raised in Pittsburgh, and now repping the black and gold in Austin, Texas. I've been to Ireland. I've kissed the Blarney Stone, but I cannot stand an Irish goodbye.
And I'm Ben Bobick down here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Munhall native. You know what? I'm ready for some real Steelers football this week. Maybe not lucky, but if it has anything to do with it, then we'll be lucky.
And I'm Wayne Gandy, former offensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not Irish, as you can see, but I will try out a beer with you if need be. But 31st in rushing, we have to fix that this week. Here we go on the Pittsburgh Steelers Squad Show.
Wave those terrible towels. It's the Steelers Squad. Everything Pittsburgh Steelers every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Steel City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. From the steel curtain to the next generation, the Steelers Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. This is the Steelers Squad Show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, I'm your host, Tyler Feldman, and joining me on this Wednesday night Minnesota Vikings Ireland preview edition of the Steelers Squad Show is former Steelers offensive lineman Wayne Gandy. Wayne, hey, look, I had no idea you weren't Irish. So off the top, I just internally appreciate you clarifying many things.
I didn't want y'all to mix it up and, think that I've been over to Dublin or somewhere.
Yeah, I figured you would have, had a lot of experiences there given your clear Irish heritage. I have a red beard. I have brown hair, but a red beard. People think I'm Irish. I don't have a lick of Irish in me, but I've kissed the Blarney Stone. Ben, the future mayor of Pittsburgh, can the Steelers figure it out in Ireland? Wayne said it to start the show, 31st in rushing. Let's just start there. That's just not going to get it done.
No, it's really not. And you know what? You look at it from just not even just establishing the run game aspect of it. You look at it from, hey, man, we can't just ask Aaron Rodgers, 41, soon to be 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, to keep dropping back and facing a pass rush like that. And because it's tough. And not even, you know what? And I know a lot of people always love to bring up his age. I certainly just did. But any quarterback at any age doesn't need to face a pass rush and get knocked on their behind as many times, or a large amount of times in the NFL. And you might be on the bench or, rehabbing an injury. But I really like what Chris said in the post-game show on Sunday. And I think it's something that they could be successful with, and that's using the pass game to set up the run game. Getting those, you don't need to get chunk plays off the bat, but even if it's just quick hitters that gets 4, 5, 6, 7 yards, staying ahead of the chains, staying on schedule, as people like to say, I think it'd be beneficial to the run game and obviously the Steelers offense too.
The boys are in Ireland this week. 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 6:30 Pacific, wherever you're watching. Game is airing on the NFL Network. And Wayne, I know you're not Irish, but with that running attack, do you agree with Chris and what he said post-game, what Ben just said right now? Do you need the passing game to set up the running game?
Well, when you have more explosive receivers, that's sometimes the way to go. I think some of the guys that we're missing, like Roman Wilson, Ben Skoranek, and those guys, Scotty Miller, when you look at their production this year, to me, it's a function that we can't run the ball. Guys like DK Metcalf, they were made for the quick, short passing game. They're big, they're thick, they're physical. We keep talking about getting the tight ends into the game plan. It's certain aspects of the field that are affected by running the ball in the pass game. Sure, we're talking about pro football now. So you got a lot of plays that you see in college, high school, that stuff is fine, a little quick bubble screen out there, but that's not going to work but once or twice on Jalen Ramsey. That's why you don't put those things. Those linebackers can sniff those plays out. And then you got to have the right kind of receivers in those spaces to even allow that to be ran. Just when you look at the numbers, and I know numbers aren't always the telling factor because some teams, the quarterback, some weeks They scramble and get some of the yardage. Some people use their quarterback. But 31st out of 32 teams, I mean, you don't have to be a genius. I mean, okay, if you was 21, 19, cool. But 31st, you're basically the worst rushing team in the league.
That's basically the Pirates and the Astros back when the Astros were in the NL Central. You knew those two teams were going to be right there at the bottom. How do you wake up this running back room? How do you wake up the tight end room? Because the tight ends haven't been doing it either. What is the crux of this lack of production?
Yeah, I know. I like, we were talking about, even just piggybacking off the set, using the pass game a little bit to set up that run game. Maybe that's where you try to get the tight ends involved a little bit more, getting maybe a quick hitter to Jonnu Smith, get the ball to him in space. And I know they've been trying to do that with him with the sideways passes, which are what they are, and I'm not too big of a fan of it. But you know what? If it's I feel like they've had a little bit more success on it than not. They're not necessarily losing yards on them, which I suppose is a good thing. But it's not like they're getting big chunks out of it. But getting the ball to Jonnu Smith, I think, would be a big case, or even just Pat Fireman, even just like quick hitters where, hey, run 8 yards, especially if you recognize, say hypothetically, you're recognizing the defense might be in zone. Run 8 yards, find the pocket, turn around, boom, catch. And then just something like that where it's quick for Rodgers to recognize, which he's more than capable of. And it's also getting those tight ends involved in the sense where it's kind of accomplishing both things where we were talking about using the pass game to set up the run, get it out quick to maybe some of these tight ends, and then you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Boom, you're getting the tight ends involved a little bit more, making the defense account for them, if you will, getting them going, and then also hopefully getting that run game going as well. But I mean, that's we've yet to see that really, through 3 weeks.
Wayne, what kind of confidence do you have at this point with the Steelers actually figuring out the run game or incorporating the tight ends more? For me, with Rodgers as your quarterback, you'd like to think the tight ends kind of bounce back in a big way, a get-back game here against a very good Minnesota team. But the running game is still a mystery to me because it's not like these guys are Edgerrin James or any Hall of Fame type running back. It's Jaylen Warren. I mean, I'm not knocking Jaylen Warren, but we're not talking about some guy who's about to, have this career that people are going to be talking about. I just don't see that out of Jaylen Warren. Again, that's no disrespect, but that's just what the Steelers have right now, it seems.
Yeah, and when I talk about the run game, I talk about it as far as all the backs being involved. I'm talking about you should be able to hit 100 yards as a team. I'm not looking for one guy. Between Gainwell and Caleb Johnson, if you get him back in the mix back there, who you thought had some speed and different things in the preseason, but right now you're playing shadow games with him. I mean, is he going to be out there or not after that turnover? But when you look, Jaylen Warren, between the 3 of those guys or someone somewhere, between 3 running backs, you should be able to manufacture at least 100 yards rushing in the NFL to give yourself a chance. I always say the key years for having a good rushing attack is when you have a rookie or a second-year guy at quarterback or a guy once he gets to about 36, 37. He has to have some easy throws. You got to find him some tight ends. I'm with Ben. Maybe Arthur Smith, the OC, has to start maybe flexing Jonnu Smith out, get him detached, get Pat Fairmouth, in some kind of way. It might be scratch this playbook and go back to something else here in the next 2-3 weeks. I still believe you still have to put the onus on the offensive line. The best lines I have been part of is when the OC, the head coach, the organization, the entire team was looking to the O-line to really be the mainstay of what's going on offensively and defensively. I've been out there where they feel you're scoring too fast. Like, almost like, no, we want to walk the ball down the field. Y'all are blowing holes open. But it came from this idea that even though outside the building, people might not give you that respect of noticing you, you are the reason of why we are doing this and why we can perform. So you still have to go in, and as much as you want to rub their shoulders, you got to also squeeze their neck a little bit and get them to understand wherever we're going to go offensively, I feel like the O-line can wake up, even like you said, in the tight end room, because now linebackers, they can get out of that single high, because that's how they're going to play them right now. The corners are going to roll up. They're going to play tight. They're going to go to single high, and they're going to say, Steelers beat us, because we don't feel on the edge. You have the receivers that are built for, it's not like a whole, Chase and those guys out there, Justin Jefferson. We don't have that, in my opinion. DK is a big play receiver, but he doesn't have that type of explosiveness all the time. I like what he's been doing for the team. I like him in the short passing game, and I do think he's a big threat, especially around in the red zone with his size and his ability to go up and catch the ball. But 31st, it's so stuck in my mind because it's so surprising. It's like you're telling me if the Steelers were 31st in rush defense, it would be like, what's going on? So it's that kind of surprising to me.
It is definitely surprising. I did some homework before this show, and I do want everyone to know who's watching, and Ben, Wayne, you guys should know this as well. I did my homework. Caleb Johnson has never botched a kickoff in Ireland, and he's never done that before. So if there's a time to insert him back in and say, look, jump off these eggshells. You're too big a body. You're breaking all the eggshells anyway. Just go back on the field and let's see what you got, because what they have currently is 31st. So I think you just kind of say, hey, you know what? Heck with it. Let's see it. Let's at least see what you can do in the running game and not punish the kid for not understanding a rule that I'm guaranteeing you he understands very well right now.
Yeah, and you know what? And I like it too. Just go out there and play free. But here's one thing I feel like I don't know if we made mention of it on Sunday, and I want to throw it out there now because we're talking about the 31st best rushing team in the league. How about, that one Wildcat play that they ran when Kenneth Gainwell came in and they had Jaylen Warren? Why not? I'm not saying we need to go full Tony Sperano 2008 Dolphins on us here, but I'm saying maybe we utilize that a little bit more where we're saying, hey, because it seems like a lot of the defense, listen, I know you're going to want to try to run the ball. So the Steelers just go, you know what? Yeah, we are going to run the ball. We're going to put two running backs back here. Who's going to get it? And then you just pound the ball, because I thought it was a nice little change of pace. They got a couple yards off it. They only ran it once, but maybe pull that string maybe a few more times, especially because when they pulled it, it was on one of the touchdown drives. And obviously we were moving the ball pretty well. So it was a good time to use it where we continuously, I think we may have gotten 3 or 4 yards out of it, but why not pull that string? Maybe we're moving the ball a little bit to switch it up. Again, I'm not saying going fully into it, but I was like, you know what? I really don't hate that they pulled a Wildcat string. And you know what? Maybe that's how you get Caleb Johnson in there. Put him in there with Kenny G and run something like that. Hey, man, just give him the ball and go. I think that's what he needs, and he needs to get his redemption sooner rather than later.
See, you said I really didn't hate that. And I hate that that's where we're at with the Steelers team, where you can't just, I really didn't hate that. Wayne, do you think a Wildcat type of formation or giving different looks, anything, do you think Arthur Smith can drop the ego enough to want to switch things up? Do you think Mike Tomlin will give him the opportunity to say, hey, I want to do this, that, and this, and try to switch things up? Because for me, at this point, I think there's a possibility we start seeing a lot of the same stuff and forcing the issue to try and make something happen that isn't happening.
I believe that you can put me and Ben in the backfield in the Wildcat and get 60 yards in a game. I mean, we're talking about 60 yards. What excuse can you come in as a coordinator and offer me after 3 weeks? And we're talking about even last year, this is what we went into the year thinking, okay, how can we get a little more rush into this offense? The last couple of years. So at a certain point, when you're 31st, you gotta cover your eyes and put your dark shades on and just become a chemist. You got to figure something out, some combination. Jonnu Smith, some Jets, something has to change when you're 31st in any category out of 32 teams. So no one is going to be sitting there. They would applaud your effort. I believe that, hey, they're trying something. Like, they're not just sitting pat and just trying, and going with that same thing. Grab the Lions tape whatever they were doing the other night.
Yeah. I mean,
run that play. Just run them same plays and see something, because, and I can't say, when you're 31st in anything, what do you have to lose?
31st, but currently first in the AFC North. The Lions with a huge road win in Baltimore. Ravens and Browns 1-2. The Bengals without Joe Burrow. And the Steelers 2-1. The Steelers outscored 77-72 so far this season. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back here on the Steelers Squad Show, we're going to go into Wayne's World like we do every Wednesday. We're going to figure out what's wrong with this offensive line, because I think a lot of what we were talking about here on this first segment tonight, the crux is the offensive line. And they've got to figure it out. And we will figure out what they need to figure out when we bring Wayne Gandy and his world to the forefront right here on the Steelers Squad Show. But first, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, too, whether I'm watching the Steelers or just keeping tabs on my fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to my Sunday. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com, and that is how you get started. So that's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, back here on the Steelers Squad Show. Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobick. I'm Tyler Feldman. Thanks for spending your Wednesday night with us. This is an exciting week, guys. Ireland, the connection with the Rooney family, and just playing across the pond. I'm fired up. A little breakfast and football. This is what it's all about. It's like I'm in LA or living on the West Coast. This is what they do every Sunday. It's time now to go to Wayne's World, though. We've got to step inside, Wayne, because we've got to figure out what's wrong with this Steelers offensive line and how you can fix it. Because right now, how I look at this team, I look at this Steelers team like a leather jacket, a fake leather jacket. It's like from 30 feet out, from 30 yards away, hey, you know what? This team looks fine. They're 2-1. What could be wrong? You zoom in, you look closer, and you feel the fake leather, and you're like, yeah, it's not real. That's not real. So how does this offensive line become the real deal? I'm not saying they need to be a 10 out of 10 every game, but how do they improve enough to actually help the run game, help the tight end, help the offense in general start to actually perform at a higher level?
Well, as an offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith has to go in. He has to get everybody, tight ends, running backs, everybody in that front 8, 9, and ask them, what do you want to run? I'm going to take all the excuses. I'm going to take all the thinking. What are the runs that you want to run? So that I know that when I dial them up, everybody out here has taken that part of thinking and that slow get off, you can attack, and that's where you build from. And I think one of you said it a little earlier, can he remove himself, his ego, to be able to do that? And that has happened at different points when things are struggling. Sometimes you do, and that's how you open up things, because now guys don't have that idea of, oh, it's too complex. Oh, I don't want to pull. Okay, so what do you want to run? Tell me, get up to the board. Tell me the plays that you feel like that you can execute at a high level. That's the first step. And then the second step, as I said, it has to become an idea. Some of what we're looking for, you can't teach. It's ingrained in you early. And some of these guys up front, I don't know if from in the last 2 or 3 years, I don't know all of their backgrounds from college, but their attitude, some of them, in my opinion, look a little Hollywood at times out there. You got to get down and dirty and mean. It's almost like a muted offensive line that they just seem like they're unstoppable. And I don't see that in this line, but I do know you got to dial up the plays they want to run. And that's including the running backs. You know, we all have our favorite plays. We all have our go-to. It's when you come in there and ask us, what do we want to run on 4th and 1? You ask that on Friday. You don't ask that during the game. You know, you ask that before we go in the game. When we need that yard, which side, which play. And you let them chime in, makes them feel like they're part of it. And, you know, the parts that I would like to introduce and inject into them, that's an off-season thing. So I got to start from week 4. I can't start back.
Wait! I got to ask you, who looks too Hollywood on that offensive line?
Well, your left tackle, and I see the talent, the skill set. I see why he was drafted high. I saw it in college, but his motor shuts off real quick, and I can raise my hand to say that was something when I back at Auburn, get over there, you know, you're on this time thing. Okay, that was 3 seconds, play over. But as you move up, some guys are beating you just because they're playing hard. I always tell people that. TJ Watt is a great example of that. His effort, to me, is what will push him into camp. It's not all pretty. It's not these great rip moves or Dwight Freeney with the inside spin and all that. It is just 8-10 seconds every time the ball is snapped. I'm going to come at you. And as a lineman, you get tired of that. Well, I see some of them, you know, in the left tackle. He's looking around. Has the ball been thrown yet? Has the ball been? Well, why aren't you blocking? Why aren't you finishing the block? Why are you worried about seeing the ball clear? Are you going to just stop blocking once you see him run past you? So it's certain attitudes and mindsets. I have to grow that on the offseason. Right now, you can simplify, run what the guys want to run. So Monday or Sunday night on the plane ride back, they don't have that, oh, coach running this, coach running that. We ran what you wanted to run, and you're still getting stopped in the hole. And the last thing, that third thing, is attack. Get off the ball. And that's why I said the Lions. When I was sitting there, it wasn't pretty. They didn't have the whole man all the time, but what they did have was an aggressive first step. They were playing on Baltimore's side of the ball. And that's what you have to do when you want to run the ball. You have to be on their side before they get to yours.
Let's go back to that left tackle.
I love how Wayne didn't even call him by his name. He said the left tackle.
Well, Ben Roethlisberger called him out by name on his podcast. Pretty much eviscerated him, said James Harrison would have had 15 sacks against him on Sunday. I don't love hearing that. I don't love the idea of that attack necessarily from Ben, but also at the same time, it's clear as day. And maybe, Wayne, to your point here tonight, it's got to be some tough love to figure it out. Everyone responds differently to coaching, to situations. I mean, these are young guys still trying to figure out who they are while trying to protect a Hall of Fame quarterback who Ben says I can't say his age because we've said it too much. Ben, do you think Ben was right in saying that that's the situation right now?
Yeah, I love that. That's some vintage Big Ben stuff, right? Calling out his guys in the media, being like, "Hey, man, you know, let's pick it up a bit." I love that, even when he's retired. Yeah, I'm sure Terry Bradshaw would tell you that Mean Joe Green would have had 20 sacks on Broderick Jones.
Well, he's a little bit older. Sometimes I don't know where his head's at right now.
Yeah,
I can see.
And you know what? Happy birthday to Mean Joe. It's his birthday today too. 79 years old. It's
the North Texas alum.
There you go.
That? Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, hey, you know what? I think Ben's calling it how he sees it. You know, he obviously from his position, he obviously was in that locker room and all that XYZ. But you know, he's just a guy like us watching the game, and he's like, you know what? I don't like what I'm seeing, and then it hits a little bit deeper when it's obviously one of the best quarterbacks in franchise history saying that. It doesn't sound like he'd want him as his left tackle. We'd like to see him pick it up a bit. I just think that offensive line is just still the youth is just showing through in a lot of cases, and And I know we had talked about him a lot, even before the season on a couple of the podcasts when it comes to Broderick Jones. I mean, Wayne, we in a previous Wayne's World, just talk about his shift back from the right tackle spot to the left. I mean, it's a tough thing to do, especially at the professional level. And I know I was trying to give him some grace, being like, hey, well, you know what? At least he got some years of experience under his belt. But I don't think it, like Wayne said, it doesn't matter too much, man. It takes a lot to switch back. And I think Troy Fautano is someone we shouldn't let off the hook either. I think he's almost like a, it's kind of how I consider him and JJ McCarthy. You're kind of like the same thing where they're a rookie or like a half rookie where they're not a rookie, but they didn't play last year. Well, granted, he was in the building, in the meetings, all XYZ, but he didn't play. We could talk about and practice all you want. You don't get that speed until you're in there playing. I think he's a lot of people have confidence in him figuring it out, but he pretty much is almost like a rookie right tackle out there, being that he didn't play it all last year. So I just think it gets warranted. I think we try to find out different positives here and there. Oh, they didn't play that bad. Like what you said earlier, Tyler, like, where are we at right now? And you're saying, oh, I didn't hate it that much. It's like, oh, well, they didn't play that bad. I'm like, no, but they're bad, but it's still early enough in the season where you have to take the positive over the negative, because we're 2-1 and they could still figure it out, but it's not good right now.
Let's talk about the coaching situation with the offensive line, because I feel like this whole season we haven't heard enough about Pat Meyer and his experience. Michael Teasley asking, is it time to look for a new O-line coach? Wayne, I ask you this because Meyer, he's in his 4th season, has tons of experience, 11 years. Was with the Panthers coaching the O-line. Before he was with the Steelers. Prior to that, he was with the Chargers and the Bears. How much of this is coaching and how much of this is actually above the coaching, getting the right players from a general manager standpoint, in a front office standpoint? Where are we at with this front line? Because I feel like we've been asking the same questions and talking about the same problems for 4 weeks now.
Well, each coach and different set of guys trying to reach them, motivate them. Sometimes, a lot of whatever your attitude is as a player, you bring to the team. And in the NFL, coaches are more counselors and motivators than they are strategists. And as far as technique goes, when you're talking about the O-line, this is more of, you go from calling him coach to whatever his first name is. And it's like we're making a deal. Of how we're going to do this. You're philosophizing how we're going to block. So with Pat Meyer, and as I said, you're 31st in anything, you imagine sure in a couple of weeks or even at any point, you can walk in there and ask him to pack his bags at that point, because obviously he can't reach these guys. Now he does have a little bit of leeway as far as, Broderick Jones moving 2 or 3 guys in their second year. But in a couple of weeks, you're going to actually form a look of whatever you are. That's what you're going to be. And we'll be able to, after Halloween, get off of this, because this just will be our O-line. There won't be this thing unless you're bringing new players in. You only have a couple of weeks and then you're just that team. So I would say the O-line coach, obviously, he might not be able to connect with this group of guys. I don't ever like to call a coach doing a bad job, because it's a combination that you're supposed to be a pro, and I'm just supposed to help you be a pro, not make you a pro. So in this instance with the O-line, it's just week in, week out, we keep talking about they're not really getting any better. And I know we try to sugarcoat it. They're about the same as they were week 1. Now, the thing about it, they're facing another tough defensive front in Minnesota. So it's going to be some tough sledding this week as well.
Well, speaking of Halloween, speaking of sugarcoating, I may dress up as one of the Steelers' offensive linemen for Halloween because, one, no one's going to see me. I'm basically invisible, basically equivalent to a ghost out there. No one's going to stop me, okay? I'm just going to walk in there, grab the candy, and be on my way because I can't do anything right. We've got a lot more show to get to tonight. Coming up next, yes, the Steelers are 2-1. but we're talking about this team like they're 0-3 or 1-2. So how are the Steelers 2-1 and making it happen? We'll talk about how the turnover margin comes into play there. We'll also talk about if the Steelers are getting lucky or if they're actually a team that could be for real. That's coming up next here on the Steelers Squad Show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. But first, this episode is also brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points up on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward was courtesy of Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin, the quarterback, wide receiver tandem, hooking up for that game-winning touchdown on Sunday. A perfect ball, perfect catch, and it was a perfect way for the Steelers to pick up their second win of the season. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back to the Steelers Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. A beautiful Wednesday night. I'm Tyler Feldman. He's Ben Bobick, and he is Wayne Gandy. Gentlemen, let's talk about it. How are the Steelers 2-1? Well, this was going out in waves on social media the last couple of days. And I saw this. Over the last 4 seasons, the Steelers lead the NFL with a plus 36 turnover margin. This season, the Steelers are number 1 in the league with 32 points off turnovers, number 1 in the league with 0 points allowed from turnovers, number 1 in the league with plus 32 points off turnover margin, and number 1 with plus 31.9 EPA off turnovers. So, you know what? You look and see these numbers and where they rank, and unlike the number 31 rushing attack in the league, Wayne, number 1 in turnovers in this capacity, you can understand how this Mike Tomlin-led Steelers team continues to pick up victories.
And we came into the season feeling like the defense was going to carry this team. I think that's what we all felt like. If they was going to go anywhere, this defense with all the big pieces they brought in, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, and those guys, and you add that with how Patrick Queen and Cam Hayward are playing, TJ seems to be warming up. You expect a Steeler defense to get you some turnovers. I mean, you know, you can bet the Steeler defense is just one of those defense that might score. That's what they do. They either score, they do something during the game that gives their offense the short field for a touchdown, or they get a turnover. So those kind of plays is what I expect. It's an aggressive, attacking, safeties in the box, linebackers slashing everywhere. I don't know another Steeler defense. So I don't call that lucky. I call that aggressive and guys that hustle to the ball. They're always pulling and yanking at the ball. You saw that last week. It's never over for them until the defender is down, and that's just what Steelers do defensively. So it excites me to know that that component is there. You know, their bend, don't break defense that gets turnovers.
Ben, were you surprised seeing those turnover numbers and where the Steelers rank? I was a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? It definitely jumps out on the page at you early on. But I think back to the 2019 team when Big Ben went down with an injury, and I'm pretty sure they led the league in turnovers with 38. I mean, I know they led the league in fumble recoveries, and they were second in interceptions. And I remember that team creating such an abnormal amount of turnovers where it's like, okay, we're not going to do this again, you know, next year. But it was almost frustrating because I remember thinking at that time, man, like if Big Ben was if he was healthy and the defense was setting him up like this, they could have made a little bit more noise this season. But so I just think it's with like Wayne was saying, it's with this defense's DNA is they love to create chaos. You know, they love to use their pass rush to create the chaos, to give the quarterback problems. It's why you see them pressure the quarterback a lot. And it's sort of who they are. And what I loved about this past week too, with the amount of fumbles that the Patriots had, that was something that they saw on film. I saw a lot of stuff coming out of the locker room when they were when the reporters were talking to the team, and they said it was something that popped out on the tape for us. So it was obviously teams are going out there trying to create fumbles. typically are, but they don't necessarily, it's not as successful as maybe the Steelers were on Sunday, but it was something that they saw. Hey, this team puts the ball on the turf a good bit, so let's just go out there and do our thing and maybe make it a point to do it and see what we can get. And we saw what they were able to get on Sunday. But I do believe it is what this defense is built upon, is creating that chaos, if you will, getting pressure on the quarterback, making them make mistakes and taking it from there. But to your point, though, Tyler, it's something that jumps off at the page at you, where it's almost like, can they really keep this up over the course of a season?
I was like, wow, I had no idea. I mean, this is crazy. It's such a great way. It makes you frustrated when you see these Steelers teams, sneaking victories out. I mean, that's the nature of the NFL. Wayne, I know you said a little bit ago that you really don't think this is a lucky situation. This is, the defense coming to play. How close is the defense to taking that next step to really, really win games with this offense the way it's looking? That Steelers defense 10, 15 years ago when they were winning games. How close is this defense to getting there?
Well, I'm hoping that once that Joey Porter Jr. component, that Deshaun Elliott component is back, that is going to ramp up even higher. We really haven't really saw, Alex Highsmith is still out. So those pieces that we still have in play still are able and possibly come back even this week. I know a couple of guys were limited when I looked at the report, but I just imagine the same defense, you add a little more size, a little more speed, a more aggressiveness. But it's just something that is taught. In the time I was in Pittsburgh, that the defense was counted on and was supposed to go get us the ball, not just stop people. And it's not taught everywhere. You would think, oh, every team is teaching that. No, I'm saying really harping on and being felt that you have to do like 50 years of Steelers defense. It is that kind of DNA. It's not one of those lip service kind of thing. It is really this idea that the Steelers defense is supposed to at least once a game score or give us the ball on the 10 or 15-yard line. That's really the whole – it's that kind of mindset, and every game I watch with the Steelers, that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting either they're going to score or somebody's going to do something that all we need is 2 first downs and we're in the end zone, or go over top for a quick 30-yard pass for a touchdown, or at least even if we stall out, we're already in field goal range. That's the Steeler defense that I expect, and that's what's been showing up.
Wayne, that sounds really nice. I'd like to see a lot more of that from the Steelers defense. You mentioned the injury report, just the latest update from practice today. Patrick Queen with that oblique, he was limited. Joey Porter Jr. with the hamstring was limited. Deshaun Elliott with the knee was limited. And then with Alex Highsmith, he did not practice because of that ankle. The rest of the guys who did not practice today are all veterans getting a day off. So, yeah, you'd like to see the defense entirely healthy. Not sure that'll be the case. But, Ben, do you think this is a luck situation right now for the Steelers, or this is, they're putting in the work and performing at the level that needs to be performed at to get these kinds of turnover numbers?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just a matter of we've been talking about the last few weeks. Sometimes you just have to grind out and find ways to win early on in the season. Think about week 1. Who would ever thunk that the offense was going to win that game? But they did. Aaron Rodgers goes out there and turns back the clock, throws 4 touchdown passes, and gets them in field goal range, and Boz does his thing. And obviously week 2 was what it was. I think, without that kickoff gaffe, it might have been a different story. But to quote Mike Tomlin, hypotheticals are a waste of our time. It's a loss. And in week 3, this past Sunday, was the defense. They create 5 turnovers, and the offense is able to do enough to get a win. I mean, you think about this process. It's only late September. And you think about some of these Steelers teams that have played well maybe early. Think about 2020 when they won, 10, 11 straight. Then they fumble it at the end of the season and get blown out by the Browns in the playoffs. Think about just last year, where it was kind of iffy there in the middle, and then Russell Wilson comes in, that middle meat of the season. They were rolling when they were like 10-2 at one point, and then they go on that losing streak to end the season, and boom, they get bounced by the Ravens in the first round of the playoffs. You want this football team to continuously get better through the season. You don't want them to come out hot. Well, I mean, obviously, it'd be nice if they were 3-0, come out hot, but you want to see them continuously get better throughout the season. It's growing pains. We've been talking about it for weeks about, hey, this team didn't. Wayne has been talking a lot about, hey, this team just didn't get any work in the preseason. They're figuring it all out. It's one thing to do in practice. They're figuring it out on the field. A lot of these new guys, and granted, they're veterans, so they're able to be professionals about it. And that's why I think they're 2-1, because they're able to find ways to win and get in these close games. They know what to do and don't know what needs to be done to get a victory. But in reality, you just want them to get better. You want them to be playing their best football in late November, into December, when the season's on the line, and maybe they're competing for a division title, maybe a home playoff game, and obviously potentially getting into the playoffs. That's what you want to see. And so I think it's just growing pains early. They're a veteran-led team where they just, everything that they have makes you want to believe that they're going to get better. They have too much talent on the team, too much veteran talent on the team, to where they're going to figure it out and start rolling here a little bit. But it's just going to be a bit painful here at the beginning. But you know what? You just take your wins when you can get them. Because I think they just need to continuously play with one another. And I think what's going to be a big help is, the early bye is always one that's a little bit weird, especially with the NFL in the season thus far. But I know the Steelers' bye is after this Vikings game. It may come as a bit of a blessing in disguise, being that it's early, because you have so many guys hurt, like Porter and Elliott and Highsmith, where, hey, say they don't play this week, they get an extra week of rest where they don't miss another game. And then also everybody can kind of take a deep breath and be like, okay, see where we're at. At worst, they're going to be 2-2, or 2-2. So it's like, why not take the deep breath, take the reset, and go and kind of go from there, especially when you think about the games coming out of the bye against the Browns and then the Bengals without Joe Burrow.
Steelers 2-1. They're 2 wins over the Jets and Patriots. I don't want to write off either of those two teams. I actually think the Jets, who are 0-3, aren't that shabby. Their defense needs to improve, but their offense has been clicking a little bit. Yeah, I think a benefit too, Ben, to that point, and Wayne, you could chime in here, but the AFC North, you have no Joe Burrow. The Ravens are 1-2. Derrick Henry's just fumbling the ball and is upset on the sideline. Like, I really didn't see that happening. Is the AFC North going to be a blessing for the Steelers this season?
It definitely looks like, and all I can say, Steeler fans, don't lower your expectations, but embrace the way that this Steeler team is going to get you to 10-7 or 11-6.
I like that.
Embrace it. Don't lower that. Oh, I can't make the playoffs and catch a wild card spot. But it's just not going to come in this luxury box. You have to look at the talent, the veterans. You have to look at way things are going, and you're just trying to continue. As I said, even with Aaron Rodgers, put him in position, and we just need a field goal to win. Go to Chris Boswell, get out of here. One of those things. Okay, JJ, TJ, it's 3rd and 10. Here's the key sack. Woo, we got out of here. And it doesn't matter who you beat. It doesn't matter. Nobody counts that at the end. It's just 10-11 victories, and you try to get you a wild card spot. But don't lower your expectation of where you want to go, but you have to embrace how you might have to get there. And with this team, it's just going to be heart racing, blood pressure pills.
Golly, not again. Come on. Don't do it to me.
One of those kind of things, and you just hope when the dust settles, it still is one of those wild card spots is still there. But with the issues within the division, Baltimore can, that defense still was getting pushed around. They're trying to brush off that loss like, oh, no, it's just the Ravens. I saw a team getting beat up out there, and I hadn't seen that in a while by the Ravens just getting beat up physically.
Ravens have given up the most points in the league, 97. Yeah. That's shocking. I mean, the Steelers are going to need to take care of the division, because you look at some of these games mixed in against the Packers, Colts, Chargers, Bills, Lions, So you've got to take care of business against the divisional games, sprinkle in the Bears. I mean, I still need to see a lot more from these Steelers to have any sort of confidence that they can get to 10-7. That's all I'm saying, Ben, because you brought up the schedule, you brought up the bye. I pulled it up and I'm like,
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And no wins are guaranteed in the National Football League. We all know that. I mean, it's easy to look at the schedule and like even beforehand, like and just look at some of them like, oh well, it should be like before the season, we were probably looking at this. Hey, 5-0 is not out of the question. When it's like, well, it's out of the question now because they lost in week 2 by double digits at home, and it flips on a dime like that. But no, I know, and it's easy for us to look ahead and whatnot, but I just think that it just continuously, I like what Wayne said, embracing what they are, continuously getting better, because I think more and more they're going to click. More and more they spend time with one another. A trip to Dublin and Ireland may be just what the doctor ordered. A nice road trip across the pond to a little team bonding over there against the Vikings in a unique place that is very special to Steelers Nation as well, too. You think, obviously, it's a business trip, and Mike Tomlin had reiterated that, but it's still special. It's a special trip for the organization and what it means to the Rooney family, and I know there's an added bonus of the Steelers wanting to go over there and win that football game. Not even just because it's part of the season, but also that it's in Ireland. But you just have to embrace the fact that it's who they are, but it's 1 week at a time, man. Because you think about it's just how it goes. And every season they're going to lose a game they shouldn't. They're probably going to win a game they shouldn't. And it's just all about cleaning up on the everything in between and finding your identity and rolling with it.
Coming up next here on the Steelers Squad Show, we will talk about that Steelers-Vikings game. We will preview the matchup in Ireland. We will get our way too early predictions and hear what Ben and Wayne have to say about how the Steelers, what are the keys to Pittsburgh getting a dub in Ireland. We'll be right back here on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, back here on the Steelers Squad Show on a Wednesday night. Love being with you. Wayne Gandy, Ben Bobick, Tyler Feldman. We are talking Steelers. We are talking Vikings in Ireland, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 6:30 Pacific. It'll be on NFL Network. It'll be the Steelers and the Vikings. Wayne, I'll start with you. Outside of the offensive line, outside of the trenches, what are some keys for the Steelers against a very good Minnesota team? I'm a little bit on edge. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, regardless of who's at quarterback, J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz, I feel like, this is probably the best talented skill position offense. When you talk about Addison and Jefferson, Hawkinson, I don't know. The Seahawks had a little bit of that, but out of the 4 teams, I think this is one that's really going to test our pass defense. And that's where last time we saw this against the Seahawks, we didn't. Sam Darnold had a nice day against us throwing the ball. And so that's the matchup. Jalen Ramsey taking on Justin Jefferson. These guys, our linebackers, Patrick Queen, and those guys, Wilson, if he's in there, Cole Holcomb playing against Hawkinson, who's a good, capable tight end. I'm really looking forward to how, and they can, their offensive line has a pretty good offensive line. So I think the pass attack is what has me a little worried about, because last time we saw it, we didn't succeed against, a capable pass offense.
Yeah, Ben, what are your keys for the Steelers? Because a lot of things are going to need to go right for this Pittsburgh team, because the Vikings have shown that they can score. The Steelers sometimes defensively have shown that they can stop the ball, but it's that Steelers offense that has me worried.
Yeah, you know what? The Steelers offense is going to be a fun one to watch, and I saw a lot of it circulating on social media after the game, and it's Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator in Minnesota, and how he loves to scheme up some fun disguises there on defense and hide some things and give you different looks. And you know what? Who probably relishes in that sort of thing, that game of chess, if you will, is Aaron Rodgers. So that's going to be a fun thing to watch. And that's where a guy like Aaron Rodgers you have under center, or at least for the offense, against a guy like Brian Flores calling the coordinating the defense for Minnesota, that chess match is going to be something where, each is going to get their wins and their losses. It's all about, having more than the other one, if you will, and taking advantage of your opportunities. But that's where I think having a guy like Aaron Rodgers against a Brian Flores-led defense and pulling those strings and playing that chess game at the line, seeing where they're at, knowing where he needs to go with the ball, I think it's going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I think it's going to be, I think for a lot of people, but on the defensive side of the ball, and I don't know if we mentioned this too much today. I know we touched on it on Sunday. They have to get off the field on third down, man. That was such an issue on Sunday. It was an issue against the Seahawks. And you know what? It wasn't even just third downs. It was some couple of third and longs. I know it was against the Patriots, third and eights, third and nines, where the defense is making a run stop in the backfield, and they're putting their offense off schedule where it's 2nd and 12, and they only get 3 or 4 back, and now it's 3rd and 9, and they're letting up that big play, those chunk plays where they're getting the first down. That just cannot happen. And especially with a team like Minnesota that has those weapons you alluded to, with T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison being back as the former USC receiver, Jordan Addison being back in the lineup for the Minnesota Vikings, and Justin Jefferson. That matchup with Ramsey is going to be awesome. You have to think about how much a guy like Jalen Ramsey relishes in those moments against a guy like Justin Jefferson, who many believe is the best wide receiver in the world, and he gets to go opposite him. But that's going to be the key there, is getting, I have confidence that this Steelers team is going to stop the run, force Carson Wentz to make those throws, and they just have to get off the field on third down, because that was an issue the last 2 weeks, and in particular this last week. And I think it really what made this game as close as it was in some cases.
Patriots were 6 for 13 on third down. So, and
then add in the fourth down rate too. I think they were 4 or 5 on fourth down. Then you combine it, and it's
not going to cut it. Ben, I didn't realize you were such a big USC fan. I didn't think
Jordan Addison
played it. I didn't know he played at Upper St. Clair.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I knew he played in Southern California, and I don't think it was South Carolina. But when you say USC like that, I get a little fired up. Just gets the juices flowing.
Jordan Addison is a legend with the USC. I don't think.
Yeah, big Panther.
I'm not sure he played. Yeah,
I must have missed that
anywhere else.
I must have missed that. Hey, Vikings are only favored by 1.5. Over under 41.5. Guys, what are we thinking here? What are we thinking, Wayne? You think the Steelers pick up tell me what you're thinking, Wayne. I just want to know.
Well, I'm going to allude to what you said earlier about the defense and the turnovers. That has to continue. And I think this week would be a great time for a defensive score. Give the Vikings some of what they did last week to the Bengals. One of those gets you a pick six or a fumble recovery. I think if we can get that in the game, I really feel we can. That's what will set us apart to win this game. I don't think the offense will be able to go toe-to-toe with the Vikings if it became a scoring battle. But if we can get the defense to do that touchdown or short field for Aaron Rodgers against this stout defensive front, Eric Wilson at linebacker for the Vikings, we'll have a good chance. I'm going to go, Ben. I'm going to go 23-20 Steelers. I'm going to go with the luck of the Irish.
Okay. Let's find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Ben, no slipping says, this is the only game all season that I will not get with my antenna. Upset emoji. If you think I'm paying $200 for NFL Plus, you tripping. Let's get that free 5-day trial, baby. Laugh emoji. Look, I'm in Austin, Texas. I pay for NFL Plus. It was like $38. So I don't know where the information. I'm just gonna. It was affordable. But I love the antenna play. Ben in Chattanooga. What's the play here for you?
Yeah, if no slip-ins in the Pittsburgh area, I did see that it's going to be on Channel 4. So, but with someone in Chattanooga, it's tough. NFL Network, you rely on the national look, which is great. But man, it's just gonna. What worries me the most is the fact that they're gonna have to play Carson Wentz and a backup quarterback. The Steelers I just have too many tough memories playing against backup quarterbacks. I think about the Monday Night Football game from a few years ago when they played the Bengals, and it was a tough loss. And I'm going to go full Yinzer on you here with this pronunciation as well. Bruce Gradkowski from 2009 when he led the Oakland Raiders to a win.
I remember that game. For some
Heinz
reason,
Field.
yeah, that's crazy.
Shout out Seton LaSalle High School. He's a Seton LaSalle Rebel. And former Steelers backup Bruce Gradkowski. Carson Wentz, people forget that he was in line to win the NFL MVP award in 2017 before he got hurt. Now he's far from MVP form, but he's a veteran presence. He's a guy that's been around, and so I think it's nothing to look past. But just the horse against backups do worry me, and I think he has no shortage of weapons there. But it's going to be a tough one, man. I just think that the Vikings defense is going to give the Steelers issues because we haven't seen much out of it. Like we talked about the run game for 20-25 minutes today and how poor it's been. And and I don't foresee it getting any better on Sunday against a really good Vikings team. So I'm actually going to go with Minnesota on this one. I think the Vikings get a lead there, and I think the Steelers get it together late to tie the game. But I think Carson Wentz does just enough with a game-winning drive to get the Vikings in field goal range for them to win it on a walk-off field goal, 24-21, Minnesota.
Okay. My biggest concern, in addition to Carson Wentz, their head coach, Kevin O'Connell, he seemingly is a wizard with the offensive side of the ball. In the way that they scheme, you have Wentz come in and they put up 40+. It just that worries me significantly. And I actually think the Steelers struggle in this game. I hate to break it to everyone watching. I know this is a Steelers squad show. I'm looking Minnesota 36. I'm looking Steelers 18. And the significance of the 18 to the 36, Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year. Happy Shana Tova to all of my fellow Jews out there watching. But 18 is chai, and it means to life. And so if you go to a bar bat mitzvah, you're given, an 18 increments of 18. So double high for the Vikings, single high for the Steelers, and it's a tough loss 2-2. You take the breather on the other side, the bye week, and you just forget about this Minnesota game. You rest up, you heal, you figure things out. Hopefully the offensive line does make some improvements here in this game. We'll be looking forward to hearing what Wayne has to say after the game on Sunday. But that's where I'm at. I think the Vikings win this game pretty handedly, and if they don't, come at me. But I think the Steelers still have a lot of room to grow, and I think not a bad loss necessarily, but a loss that in a game that's not very close will continue to help the Steelers team work through some of those problems and really make them evident to continue to better themselves in the areas that are clear weaknesses right now.
Yeah, it's like the best case scenario there where you mentioned, if I'm wrong, come at me. It's like, yeah, best case scenario, we're wrong. Bummer. Yeah, that's how I always look at it. But yeah, it's going to be it. But all in all, game. We talked about the game and then the X's and O's and all that stuff for an hour. Appreciate this experience here too, man. I mean, the Steelers in Dublin and Ireland. Pay attention to all the social media aspect of things, man. It's going to be a really cool thing. I love seeing all the Steelers bars over there in Ireland. I love seeing all the fans and how much of a special experience this is for the organization. And I almost always dreaded the Steelers playing in another overseas games. I'm like, I don't want to get up in the morning and watch. But this is a little different at being in Ireland and them getting the chance to do it. And I think it's a cool experience, and it's awesome to see Steelers Nation travel across the pond.
And Wayne, you're Irish, so you've got to feel that same kind of energy and enthusiasm about this game. And Croke Park in Dublin, Ireland, I know you're feeling the energy and the excitement.
Well, we know the Steelers fans show up anywhere in the world, so you imagine it's going to be a Steeler fest going on. And one note, I know we talked about it earlier, but some kind of way, Ben, Tyler, you have to get Caleb Johnson on the field. He had too long, he's going to lose his confidence. Give him a couple of carries out on the edge or something like that and get the young man, because I think he can really contribute to what you need on some of those explosive plays.
He's one good run away too, I think. One good solid 5-6 yard run or more, and it's like, okay, there he goes. Get some confidence in you.
You think he's 2, 5, 6 yard runs away? Huh, Ben?
Come on. Give him the ball in Wildcat formation. We're good.
Yeah, I'm with you. You got to feed him the ball because the room's just not talented enough. You've got to see what's there in the backfield. All right, guys, this was fun. Another great Wednesday. A reminder for all of you watching, listening, watching, the audio of this show will be on the Locked On Steelers podcast channel, wherever and however you podcast. And Steelers Nation, I always remind you this, just throw us a like, subscribe, helps us out, helps us grow the channel. We're having fun with this. And I'm excited. Week 4, the pregame edition, the preview edition of this Locked On Steelers squad show. The Steelers in Ireland, 9:30 Eastern, taking on the Vikings. Game is airing nationally on NFL Network. He's Wayne Gandy. He's Ben Bobick, and I'm Tyler Feldman saying good night. And here we go. We will see you right after the game Sunday afternoon. Have a good one.